Fellas, I have played Arc Raiders. And no, I'm not just talking about the tech tests or the server slam or the play test from this past summer. No, we got to play the full game. Essentially, Embark invited some folks to give us a short preview, but of the entire game. And guys, let me just say, there is so much to talk about. From new weapons, to maps, to menus, to events, to world building, to lore. And it's very obvious just how much work Embark has been putting in to add a ton of extra content leading into the full launch of the game on the 30th. Today's video is going to showcase everything new that we saw. And before you ask, no, nothing we earned during this play session carries over into the main game. This is also not a sponsored video. It's simply just a way for Embark to showcase what it is their game is all about before making your purchase. So let's begin. Let's start with the new maps. First, we got to play the new map, Blue Gate. And let me just say, guys, it was stunning. High up in the mountains lies an abandoned village, remnants of battles long past, and an underground facility swarming with advanced Arc units. Now, Embark seriously nailed the awe-inspiring scale of these structures. Whether you're standing at the top of Pilgrim's Peak or at the bottom of the warehouse complex, the sheer size of this map evokes questions about the world, and when you examine it under a microscope, you're left with even more questions. We've seen dead androids scattered across other maps, but entering into the underground facility on Blue Gate, there are androids that are still active. They even talk when you get close. Now, we have no idea what the android was saying, but considering we already have Lance back at Speranza, which is essentially an android trader with amnesia, shout out to the gunsmith Banshee as well. This seems to be a common trait. I wouldn't be surprised if Embark has created quests diving into Lance's backstory, having us restore his memory and learning more about the world of Arc Raiders. Now, we won't dive into the lore today, but we are going to have a dedicated video exploring the story of Arc Raiders, which I do think has a lot of incredible lore. Now, I know many of you are also wondering about the 5th map that was revealed just a few weeks ago, that being Stella Montis. Now, we were shown a few shots of this map during the preview event. One of them actually made its way into the launch trailer, but we were not allowed to record this segment. But based on what we saw, it appears to be an underground installation, and if you ever played Destiny 2, it closely resembles the same design language you would find on Europa in the facilities that belong to Clovis Bray. Now, we were not given any details on when this map would launch, but based on the description we saw in the server slam, those tubes leading up to the map are full of traps that need to be disarmed. I think Stella Montis is going to be a heavily in-game map that will be scaled to maximum difficulty when it eventually launches. Now, Blue Gate's difficulty scale is almost maxed out, and it's already a lot to do with. This place is swarming with Arc. Everywhere you look, Rocketeers, Bastions, Bombardiers, and in the launch trailer, we even saw a snowy version of this map, which is going to make it even more hectic. Unless you've got advanced weaponry or a large group, there's a high chance your squad will get wiped. Now, granted, Embark here made sure that we were equipped with some seriously nice equipment for our Blue Gate runs, which you've probably already seen in the gameplay. And let me just say, guys, it was nuts. One thing I love about the weapons in Arc Raiders is that they really do stand out. One of the epic weapons Embark gave us to play with was the Hullcracker, which apparently was already known about. I'm not sure if it could even be obtainable during the server slam, but to the best of my knowledge, no one has actually used this weapon until now. Guys, this thing is a monster. It uses a separate ammo type called launcher ammo, and it deals insane damage against Arc combatants. If you have one of these on hand, taking out advanced units like Bastions and Rocketeers is no problem. It honestly feels a bit overpowered. However, it's only effective against Arc. Reading the description, it fires explosive projectiles that only detonate when hitting Arc. But honestly, it's a phenomenal weapon. So while Blue Gate is swarming with robots, Hullcracker makes it much easier to navigate. Now, we joined a group of Arc hunters in one match who only cared about killing robots, and they made quick work of it with Hullcracker. Now, there is another epic weapon most people don't know about yet called Patina, but Landmark got it to drop during the server slam. It takes heavy ammo, and it looks very strong. Unfortunately, we did not see any new legendaries in our play session, but do keep in mind, guys, it's possible that these are even more weapons Embark is saving for launch. Who knows? They may even be rolling it out over time. Now, this brings us to Augments. Although Augments are already well known about, I do want to take a moment to look at some of the benefits you receive when you unlock the epic Augments. Because unlike early playtests, Augments now offer various buffs tailored to specific playstyles. Now, there are 3 types of Augments: combat, looting, and tactical. Now, unfortunately, we only got to see 2 of the epic augments, that being the combat one and the tactical one. Now, the combat Mark III augment, Aggressive, which is an epic, has a passive which restores 2 health every 5 seconds. And when damage is taken, the effect is paused for 30 seconds. Its max loadout weight is 65. It can equip up to a heavy shield. It has 18 main loadout slots, 2 extra grenade slots, and 1 safe slot. Now, the tactical Mark III augments, which is a healing epic, has a passive which states that when revived from being down, it releases a healing cloud that restores 20 health over 10 seconds and has a 30-second cooldown. Its max loadout weight is 55, but it can only equip up to a medium shield. It has 16 main loadout slots, 3 extra healing slots, and 3 safe slots. Now, we were also given a rare version of each augment, which helps us draw better general comparisons between each augment type. Looting augments prioritize weight and loadout space, giving it an additional safe slot, but you're limited to the light shield. Tactical augments are more balanced, giving less additional slots and weight, but raise the shield cap to medium. Combat augments allows you to equip the heavy shield, but loadout weight and space are further reduced. Now, since everything was given to us by the developers here, we're kind of unsure if passives will vary for each augment or if they're tied to the augment type. And it looks like each of the epic augments have a subtype that will change what items you can put into the additional augment slot. The rare augments that we were given seems to match their type. So for instance, looting equals trinkets, tactical equals tools. But looking at our epic augments, we saw different augment slots that align closer with the list subtype. So healing equals healing items. Aggressives equal grenades. What I'm really hoping for is that this does mean that each augment that we find or craft is unique, because if both passives and subtypes vary on a per augment basis, the build crafting potential is going to be huge. Now, side note, a new item we saw available for sale at one of the vendors was this light stick. Now, they come in multiple colors: blue, green, red, and even yellow, and you can throw them to illuminate nearby areas. Now, this takes us to events. Although we only got to play one match on a Sarah spaceport, we did interact with what appeared to be an in-world player event. During the first tech test, there was talk of players working together to open a hidden bunker. Now, we saw the same event in this preview. At the beginning of the match, we received a message from Speranza notifying us about a hidden bunker in the area. Now, on the map, there were 3 antennas, which when activated would prompt everyone in the lobby with a message notifying us which antenna was brought online. And when all 3 were activated, a message would pop up reading, "Spaceport bunker has been opened." Now, we didn't have the chance to visit the bunker since we were too busy getting flanked by a rocketeer, but this bodes well for gameplay variety for the full game. Similar to the Harvester events, where you have to complete a puzzle and either fight or avoid the queen, I hope we have even more events that randomly spice up the gameplay. Now, I know many of you are going to ask, Cross, did you look at the skill tree? And we did. I'm not going to go super in depth with this, but let me just say the skill tree has undergone so many adjustments throughout Arc Raiders development. What I will say is that investing in mobility to build up that stamina is probably what most people are going to do. It's going to make your life so much easier in the early game. And then you can just shift your focus into whatever skills you think you'll enjoy the most, which can vary greatly depending on your playstyle. Granted, there are skills that are going to be needed to access certain areas. So who knows? Maybe if you're the guy getting backpacked in your squad, that may be the route you want to go. Now, with that out of the way though, let's take a look at some of the menus that were previously hidden in the tech tests. Let's start with Trials. In our preview, the Trials tab was available to view, but it didn't contain any data. So we don't have full details on how the system works yet, but essentially Trials is a ranked leaderboard that will present you with objectives each week, and how you perform will determine your standing. You can see here on the left, I have a badge, and we can assume as I rank up this badge, this will reflect my current league. Again, we'll have to wait and see what type of challenges await us at launch, but for those of you looking for long-term progression to flex, this is it, man. It's right here. Which brings us to expedition projects. The most important system when considering long-term progression in this game is this expedition project system. Expeditions are Arc Raiders' spin on server wipes. Now, they are completely voluntary, and they reset most of your account progress back to square one. Now, since the system was announced, there's been a lot of confusion on how it actually works, and thankfully, we now have exact details on what resetting your progress entails. The in-game explanation for how these expedition projects works is you're essentially sending your raider off to explore another part of the world forever. Another raider then takes their place and continues your work in the Rust Belt. Now, this raider will receive bonuses until the next expedition departs. Now, expeditions are locked behind level 20, and they run on a 9-week cycle, so essentially a full 2 months. And after 60 days, you will have a 7-day window for your raider to depart. Now, if you miss one, you can always depart at the end of the next cycle. Now, each expedition starts with a preparation phase. This is where you're going to commit resources to construct your caravan and gather supplies to take with you on your journey. Now, as you can see from step 1, the materials costs are high, but there's supplies you can find very easily simply by killing Ark and recycling loot that you find out in the world. So I wouldn't expect like an absurd amount of grind to complete these. Now, when you depart on an expedition, we now know exactly what you keep and what you lose. So let's start with what is resetting. What resets includes things like your stash upgrade progress, your inventory items, your blueprints, your coins, your player level, your skill points, your raider den, your workshop, and your quests. Now, what you keep includes unlocking maps, unlocking workshop stations, codex entries, raider tokens, cred, raider decks progress, active leaderboards, trials, cosmetics, personal event progress, bonus skill points earned from expeditions, and bonus stash slots earned from expeditions. Now, what are the benefits for resetting your accounts? Because ain't none of us gonna be doing it for free. Well, this is what expeditions will grant you. Increase XP gains, extra scrapping materials, increased weapon repairs, and more stash space. Now get this, you can also earn bonus skill points based on the value of items in your stash upon your departure. Now, something that was not displayed in game, but was mentioned in the expedition blog posts was the permanent account unlocks and the unique cosmetic rewards for each completed expedition. My guess is that these are still planned, but Embark hasn't produced these assets just yet. So we're probably gonna know more after launch. Now keep in mind, guys, the first expedition doesn't launch until December the 21st. So you'll have until then to reach level 20 and prepare your caravan. Now let's take a look at the Codex. The Codex contains both lore, a record of completed quests, and player stats. Again, we're gonna save the lore for a dedicated video because even with only a few entries, there is a lot of juicy world building going on. Now, as you visit different locations and fight new enemies, your world book will update, adding an entry to your log so that you can reference it later. Now, as you can tell, most of these are still placeholders, since many of these are just images of the Rocketeer. There's literally no escaping this guy. Now, in an interview between SkillUp and Alexander Grando this weekend, it was mentioned that certain topics have multiple entries that will be updated as the story evolves, which is also very cool. So as we learn more by in-game progression, that will then be reflected in our Codex. Now, you'll also find a record tracking all of your completed quests and your player stats. It includes time spent topside, players not, even a round history, which is pretty cool. Now, this takes us to the Raider deck. The Raider deck is essentially the same as a free Warbond and Helldivers. You complete feats, you earn cred, and you spend that cred on item packs, emotes, cosmetics, and Raider tokens. Now, previously we thought this would be the entire monetization model for Arc Raiders, but it looks like this starting deck is entirely free and it's completely tied to in-game challenge completions. You cannot spend it up with real money. You essentially have to play the game to earn each unlock, which I really do like. But Embark has stated that there will be paid decks added in the future. Now, this is in addition to the main source of cosmetics, which is located right here in the store. Now, guys, there are a lot of items present in this storefront. Each outfit comes bundled in a set, and each set usually has a random assortment of gear ranging from outfits to backpacks to attachments and hats for scrapping. You can either purchase an item as part of a set or buy it individually for a reduced cost. Now, as of this preview, we were given a substantial bankroll to customize our raiders, but the only method I saw of earning raider tokens was from the Raider deck, totaling 500 tokens if you complete the entire thing, which could be enough to buy single small cosmetics, but nowhere near enough for a player outfit or even a full set. In previous playtests, you would earn raider tokens via level ups, and there was even a mastery tab which offered token rewards as well. Now, we do know that the trials tab will have masteries tied to it at launch, and in a blog post, Embark has said you can earn cosmetics via level ups. But I do want to mention I didn't see either of these in our sessions. So at least on our end, there's no solid confirmation if we can still earn tokens using these systems. I really hope this is the case. Even if Embark has created other methods of earning tokens, like for instance, an expedition project reward, that would honestly be a really cool way to get players more engaged with the voluntary wipes. I get a little hung up on this stuff because when we're talking about a paid game with earnable paid currency, if you can't earn enough to buy 90% of the items in the shop, then the intention isn't to reward dedicated players. It's a getaway to get you to spend more money because because you can't even get the one thing you want. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to give Embark the benefit of the doubt for the time being, and that's simply due to the finals, their other game. It has an extremely fair monetization model for a free-to-play game. And in the early tech tests, Arc Raiders monetization also looked to be very fair. This is something, though, that we are definitely going to keep our eyes on, guys, post-launch, and something we're going to be revisiting in our review. Well, guys, that is it, man. That is everything we saw in our play session. Again, we'll be covering the lore here very soon, and we're also going to be streaming this game at launch tomorrow. We would love to have you join us. Without a doubt, Arc Raiders is a very fun game to play. I could see us sinking hundreds of hours into this game. And if you want to come by a stream, we'll be giving away copies of it in multiple raffles all day long. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.